Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to Coleman Report Live, April 25th, 2022 edition. We have a star-studded cast today. We have a new sponsor for a webinar coming up. Very excited. We have John Rios, the American banker reporter. I'm Joseph Coleman. Bob is out today. Lance is out today. They send their regards, though. But today we have two special guests. Leslie Tripp is on. She's been a sponsor in the past. Welcome back, Leslie. We love having you on the program. And Brent Cellino used to be Okram's director at SBA. Now he's with Blue Foundry Bank, and he is going to be talking about lender oversight on May 4th, 2022. That's next week. And we have included the link to sign up. It's a free webinar. Brent, you take it off. I'll tee it up and tell us what you're going to be talking about. Give us a teaser. Don't give away the whole house, but what are you guys talking about next week?
Thanks, Joe. Well, you know, after having joined the bank and starting to stand up an SBA department and navigating through PPP, everybody kind of needs to realize that things are going to start to normalize, if you want to call it that, and we need to get back to where were we before the pandemic hit and PPP, interrupted our programming. And SBA and Okram had just gotten past, if you want to put up that first slide, if we go back and see what they were working on, they had just passed.
This one? You want the?
Yes, if you go back and you see SOP 5100, which is the oversight, that hasn't been redone since 206, and I put that there because when you go to NAGL in a couple of weeks, you're going to find out that they're planning to redo 5100 and launch it sometime this fall, and that will include all of the oversight for Paris, which they've never issued an SOP for Paris. In the meantime, in 214, we did the Paris methodology. Then in 218, they passed the SBA 7A Lending Oversight Reform Act, which actually put in and codified Okram's enforcement powers, and that took a year for comment, so it really wasn't until 2019 when the proposed rule was implemented, June 24th, and 6 months later we had, the pandemic started to hit, and then boom, CARES Act. But during 2020, you had SOP 5010-6 come out, and then in the beginning of 2021, you had 5053, the supervision and enforcement SOP was launched and kind of slid in there. So if SBA is going to pick back up where we were before the pandemic, and if you look at the amount of attention that's now on SBA for oversight, both CARES Act and non-CARES Act, and with the subsidy going away last fall after, a year and a half, I just think it would be good for everybody to remember, how oversight's going to unfold for 2022 and 2023.
Oh, did we lose you? I think we lost Brent. We'll introduce you, Leslie. Okay. I think he's back.
Brent's back.
Sorry, Brent, you broke up for a bit. Go ahead.
Oversight. So I indicated, increased compliance scrutiny in, what's going to be in scope. Are you going to be in scope? How are they going to do their risk planning? And I can tell you from firsthand knowledge. So I've been with Blue Foundry for 2 years, started to set the SBA department up 18 months ago. Leslie's worked with me. Windsor's worked with me as an LSP. I've gone through 2 sets of audits, both state audits and FDIC audits, and then a Fed audit at the holding company, and all of them have taken a highlighted interest in SBA, and some are considering SBA now in concentration. So I just think it's good for everybody to
this is a
realize where we're going.
Perfect time to do it, Brent, and we love the conversation. I think we did this a while back with you. We're revisiting this, but again, this is a free webinar. We hope everybody on the line attends. We should have a big response. I know this is very timely. I think we have one more slide. Yeah, the road ahead slide. So tell us, and this is still just a preview.
I kind of touched on some of it with FDIC and OCC now looking at it. So I've had to up my internal loan review game because there hasn't been as much SBA oversight per se. It's all been PPP oriented. But there's a concern on the 7A side, and now we see interest rates changing. We got a variable rate product, so I think people need to, and there's no subsidy now. The subsidies come off. I just think that people need to do and invest in their self-assessment process. And that's really what the other regulators, not just SBA, is focusing on, the self-assessment process and the different things you can do in lieu of having them dig deeper into your portfolio. Maybe you can get them with your internal reviews and your internal quality control.
Well, great. This is
over to Leslie if you want.
Yeah, go ahead, Leslie. I just want to remind everyone this is a complimentary webinar sponsored by Leslie and Brent, and it's May 4th. The link has been updated. So go ahead, Leslie. Just give us a preview.
So thank you, Joe, for having us on, and just wanted to give a brief overview. So what we will also be talking about is what we're seeing on the front lines. Garcia and Ortiz does a number of independent loan reviews or individual post-closing loan review work in addition to other SBA consulting services, but we'll focus, we'll give a lot of good information to lenders as to what we're seeing that are exceptions, kind of a general overview, because once you know that something is a possible exception, it's obviously easy, relatively easy to correct it up front before the SBA comes out and reviews you, if you know it's one of the things that they're looking for.
Absolutely. Well, great. John, do you have anything to add about oversight, or have you noticed the same trends that are with the FDIC and the FCC and the OCC?
I would just touch on one of the things Brent said, because I've heard it quite a bit this week in earnings, is normalization. Right now, credit quality across the board, industry-wide, is very good, but many banks don't expect that to last, and they're forecasting a pretty different picture next year. I don't want to say doom and gloom, but they're forecasting increases in charge-offs and problem loans, and in other words, the normalization that Brent is talking about. So this is very timely, it seems to me.
Excellent. Well, once again, everyone, we'll be setting out the link throughout the next week and a half, but sign up. Brent's very thorough, and we look forward to having that conversation. Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Leslie. You can stick around.
That's free to watch. Free to you watching public, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Let's go to John's reporting on Huntington. What's going on with Huntington Bank? I know they've been a big player in the last 10, 15 years, but tell us what you reported on last week, John.
Well, they reported their earnings Thursday, and just a couple things I thought were very interesting, and they're certainly worth watching, because they are, in terms of numbers of loans, by far the largest SBA lender. So they are, by that metric, they're number one by dollar volume on LIBO. In North Carolina is number one, and both are number one by wide margins. But Huntington, through the end of March, so through the first quarter, as a matter of fact, had made 2,279 7A loans, and the next, the number two lender by number of loans is Wells Fargo. They made 915. So there's a big gap between Huntington and the rest of the industry. And I thought that's worth noting. But the other thing that they said is they've been very successful in expanding into the new cities they've entered as a result of acquiring TCF, and that would be Denver, and that would be Minneapolis, St. Paul. They have made continued inroads in Chicago, where they entered after buying First Merit I guess that was in 2016. So they say they finally scaled in Chicago. And the success there has prompted them to look at expanding outside of the footprint. The footprint is growing larger, but it's still a Midwestern footprint. They didn't tell me exactly where they're looking at, what cities, would it be Phoenix, would it be Los Angeles? That they didn't say, but they'd like to expand. And they didn't say how big the expansion would be, other than to say they're probably not looking at a nationwide expansion, but just they want to build on the success that they're seeing. And I thought that's definitely worth noting, given their status as the #1 lender.
Absolutely. Congratulations, Huntington. I know they work hard for that role. We have other news. Tell us about Lendistry. We have a new license change. Maybe Brent knows something about this too. But what's going on with Lendistry?
Well, Lendistry has acquired one of the 14 SBLC licenses, so they will now be a 7A lender. They have been a community advantage lender in the past, and they were certainly in 2021 a significant PPP lender. So they have exposure to the 7A program through PPP and through community advantage. But this gives them entree into 7A, entree into the permanent SBA programs. And when I did talk to Lendistry, their CEO, Everett Sands, he said that, for them, the significant thing is, even though they're still a CDFI lender, so they will still have that focus on minority borrowers, on women-owned borrowers, on borrowers in low and moderate income areas. But what they said is frequently, those borrowers, there are a lot of successful borrowers in those categories, and they need, their needs begin to eclipse 350,000, which is the current just increased 7A size. So they have been able to sort of continue to serve those companies. Now that they are a 7A lender, loan size isn't much of an issue for them anymore, because they can benefit from the $5 million cap on 7A loans. So that is for them, they're very excited about being able to continue serving some of the more successful lenders in their service area. People who need loans of 500,000, 700,000. And they said, they will be open to making loans as big as $5 million if somebody should come to them and ask for that. So
if I could add a little inside baseball,
Go ahead,
that's the old HANA license. So
Okay.
the HANA's departed from the SBLC world. I believe Lendistry did not pick up their portfolio. I think their portfolio went with Mr. Bangs to Open Bank. And then Lendistry is starting new with what we call a naked or free license. And I think SBA deserves a big round of ups for having the first African-American owned SBLC.
Absolutely.
I know we've been talking about it a long time, so it's glad to see action instead of talk. So big up to those guys.
For sure. Congratulations all around. Thank you, John. Thank you, Brent and Leslie. Anything to add? We are having a couple upcoming webinars, including, no, that's not correct. No, this is way off. Don't look at that one. How about we go back to, yeah, so May 4th, we're doing this Lender Oversight 2022. Everyone sign up today, and we'll get that link out to you throughout the week. Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Leslie. We should have you guys on again. We love having you give us insight into this. It's very timely. Thank you, John, for your reporting on what's going on elsewhere in the industry. This concludes today's Coleman Report Live, and we'll see you guys next Friday for another one at 1 o'clock Eastern. Thank you very much.
Hey, great. Thanks a lot. Thanks,
Bye.
John.